before 1982, India didn't have one single missile which it has developed on its own. Today, we have developed Prithvi, then we have developed Dhanush, the series of Agni missiles, and then other missiles like cruise missiles, Nirbhai, then BrahMos. Then we have also developed air-to-air missile, Astra. Then we have developed the Akash surface-to-air missile. India is one of the 6 countries which have developed their own main battle tank, Arjun. The 155 artillery gun has been developed in the country. And you must have heard Honorable Prime Minister talking about it on 15th of August. ATAX was used in the firing on that 15th August ceremonial firing. And he said, 75 साल के बाद इधर हमने आवाज़ सुना है, देश में बनाया gun. The world today recognizes India as having multiple technologies and multiple systems. And that's why we see that there are lots of inquiries coming from many countries across the globe. The call given by Honorable Prime Minister that make for the world is helping giving the boost to the industries. I feel that the youngsters, the way the number of startups have come, the way they are joining these organizations, it's a movement which has come up in the country.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. If you open your Twitter feed, your Instagram or your Facebook page, how many of you are following scientists? Not many, I'm guessing. How many posts do you get about information about scientific achievements of our countrymen and women? Hardly any. Most of you, like me, would get bombarded with information about politicians, actors, models, and some sports persons. But science, not really. Now let's think about this, that many of us, when we were children, wanted to become, say, a NASA scientist, a marine biologist, a fighter pilot. But then somewhere along the line, we picked up mundane jobs and those dreams died. Today, my guest is a scientist. He wanted to be a scientist and he pursued his dream. Dr. Sateesh Reddy headed the Defence Research and Development Organisation and is currently scientific advisor to Raksha Mantri, dealing with a program which spearheads India's indigenous development of defence systems and technologies. Joining me in this conversation is my colleague Ajit Dubey, Defence Editor of ANI. Dr. Reddy, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I've met you off camera many times. It's taken a long time for Ajit and me to get you on camera here.
Thank you.
So, Ajit, you'll have to assist me in this conversation because you have the domain expertise. Let's begin with India's strategic missile program. I have a brief explainer for those who don't know about it, and then we can get on with the conversation. India's Integrated Guided Missile Program, IGMDP, was launched in 1982-83. It consists of Prithvi, the short-range surface-to-surface missile, Trishul, the short-range surface-to-air missile, Akash, medium-range surface-to-air missile, Nag, the third-generation anti-tank missile, Agni 1. Agni missile was separated from the IGMDP due to its strategic importance. Dr. Reddy, now please give us an overview of this missile system.
Indian missile program has gone a long way, and number of missiles have been developed. Varieties of missiles have been developed. And the missiles, whether it is surface-to-surface missiles or surface-to-air missiles or air-to-air missiles, or anti-tank missiles, and many other varieties of missiles which have been developed in the country. And the country has gained a lot of knowledge and has become, I say that, self-sufficient and self-reliant in the missile technologies today. By developing all these varieties of missiles, range of missiles, what any nation would like to have based on their necessities, the country has developed all these, and in the process developed multiple technologies also which are required part of these missiles.
Right. Let's go back a little into history. You know, many of our listeners and viewers wouldn't know about the many hurdles that came in the way of India developing its missile program. After India test fired the first Prithvi missile in 1988 and the Agni missile in 1989, the Missile Technology Control Regime, then it was an informal grouping established in 1987 by Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and the US. They decided to restrict access to any technology that would help India in its missile development program. To counter this, the IGMDP team formed a consortium of DRDO laboratories, industries, and academic institutions to build these subsystems and components and materials. Though this slowed down the progress of the program, India successfully developed indigenously all the restricted components denied to it by this regime. So I want you to go a little bit into the history about how the West came down cracking on us in the 1980s to restrict our missile program, why it happened, and how did the Indian Defence set up the DRDO and all get over these restrictions?
A very important question. When the country started this missiles program, when we tested Prithvi, Agni, and when we had tests at Pokhran and other tests, so there have been restrictions put on this country, the missile control regimes and things like that. So the various subcomponents or critical systems, subsystems, which we have been dependent on the foreign nations, that have become very restricted. But I think that has helped the country, and you had to develop yourself. And so that was taken as a mission to develop all these critical subsystems and components which are required in these missiles technologies. They all have been developed over a period of time. Indigenously. And industry could take that, and industry is producing. And today I can say that the indigenous content in our missile programs is very, very high. And I can definitely say that we are not dependent for any critical subsystems and things like that from anyone. And all these things are developed here in the country, and industry is able to produce them. And that's how the missiles are also getting developed very fast, as you have the complete know-how and know-why in the country.
But sir, at that time it must have set us back quite a bit, isn't it? When suddenly there was a freeze, and how much did it set us back?
And sir, adding to it, sir, you have been a scientist since mid-80s. You must have faced, personally, you have been associated in the missile labs. What difficulties did you people used to face at that time because of this restrictive regimes?
Yeah. See, what has happened is we were also in the phase of development of the missiles. And so you are not looking for, large number of subsystems or components what you get from outside. The day we started the missile programs, the leadership at that time definitely thought that we also let us develop parallelly. And then parallel development has also work started of these subsystems and critical technologies. When there has been a restriction which has come into picture, so definitely that has put us into some troubles, that you are not able to immediately get anything what you look for and all that. And some what you have already got them, which are there in the stock, you use it for immediate use. And so the indigenous program has been accelerated, and there have been very serious importance is given to that, and lots of teams have been put in, and industries have been brought in parallelly, and there have been a very serious thrust on that. Like example, at the time I was a young navigational engineer, and we were having the navigational sensors and components which we were getting from outside.
From where, sir?
Various countries from outside, and those things we immediately worked on it, and we could make indigenously all those things.
Where? Where were we making it?
We were making it with various industries. Development was happened in RCI where I was working, but this particular sensor, because that is the lab which is responsible for these the initial navigation systems. And we could develop in the laboratory there, and industries have worked with us. And even in fact, the public sectors that time, HAL and Bell, and a couple of private industries together. We could develop it in very fast, and we can say that in those technologies now we are completely self-reliant and we could develop it. I don't think there was a serious setback or anything. Yes, there was some delay in some programs, but then country could cope up, and that is what is the best has happened to the country. Yes,
Okay.
you could develop it.
Necessity being
Yeah.
mother of invention and all
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely, you are right.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
At that time, so we developed those critical technologies at that phase and realized that it could happen all over again to us at some point of time. Did it happen again when we did our nuclear blasts again?
No, by that time mostly we have been self-sufficient. Yes, there have been restrictions and all that. That's what I was telling you that time also, the Pokhran test and all that, and in phases. But majority of the technologies we could develop ourselves, and then the phase of that mission of indigenously developing was continuously going on, and then it could get all the systems which are required for us mostly here in the country.
And sir, during that era, you had very strong leaders. The DRDO or the missile teams had very strong leaders like Dr. Kalam. Now, did that help? Because they had the access, they had the will, and did having a strong leader like Dr. Kalam help the DRDO in achieving what
I
it wanted?
think you are very right in that saying that. Actually, see, if you look at before 1982, India didn't have one single missile which it has developed on its own. And then, because of the leadership of Dr. Kalam, when a country doesn't have one missile, you could go to the government and get an approval and a sanction for 5 missiles at one go. That is the Integrated Guided Missiles Development Program, where Prithvi, Agni, Akash, Trishul, Nag, 5 missiles which have been taken up. And I don't think without that type of a leadership, we could have got such a program sanctioned, and then a trust is given to this development indigenously. That leadership helped. And in fact, not only missiles, the same leadership, so we could get the Arjun tank program, we could get the light combat aircraft program. And that is what is the leadership definitely has helped in getting the necessary trust required for the indigenous development of these systems.
So this system that you're talking about, our systems that we have, we keep hearing about India facing a two-front war scenario and planning and things that go into it. Tell me how is India placed as far as our integrated missile development program is concerned vis-a-vis China and Pakistan?
See, as I told you, the country has developed many missiles which are required by the armed forces. As the requirement comes from the armed forces, all those missiles development has been taken up. And that's how, if you look at it today, we have developed Prithvi, then we have developed Dhanush, the series of Agni missiles, and then other missiles like cruise missiles, Nirbhai, then BrahMos. Then we have also developed air-to-air missile, Astra. Then we have developed the Akash surface-to-air missile. And also we developed a medium-range surface-to-air missile, and then anti-tank missiles. So many missiles which the armed forces require, the country needs, looking at the various requirements, have been developed. And I say that we meet all the requirements of the armed forces today based on their necessities which they need for protecting our borders, have been developed and are being developed here in the country.
So the launch of Agni 5, it caught the imagination of the country. How proud should India be of the Agni 5?
Agni 5 is one of the long-range missiles, and the country is proud as many technologies have gone into it, and a very long-range, very high-precision missile, and which has been developed and flight tested, and which has been very, very successful. It has many technologies which have gone into it, and so country is naturally very proud of that missile being developed.
So the range of the missile, now, why do we need ICBMs is a very basic question. We don't have, if you see our threat perceptions, it's a very basic question which people ask, and I don't have an answer, so I'm asking you this, that we don't have a threat perception from very far away enemies. So why do we need an ICBM?
I don't know whether we should talk about ICBMs or whatever it is. The ranges of the missiles based on the needs, looking at all fronts, the armed forces have looked at that and then looked for certain ranges. And that's how the missiles have been developed, looking at those ranges.
Sir, like Agni 5, The first test was about 3-4 years back. It was very successful. We have been carrying out modifications and developments in the this program. Now we also hear that the range is much more than what is acknowledged in the public domain. Uh, what is the need for further developing the missile, sir? And is there a point where we are thinking of a longer range Agni 6 or say Agni 5 plus kind of a missile, sir?
See, basically, Agni 5 has been developed as one of the long-range missiles what the country has been looking for. And in the beginning, it has been tested very successfully and all that. I don't think any major changes have gone through or anything in the system. The system is very robust system. Some here and there, based on the technologies which come up here and there, and some upgradations go on in any system. Some similar things would have gone into this system. Otherwise, the system is developed and it's a robust system and a very successful program what Agni 5 is.
And we don't need to develop a longer range 6 or
That
7?
I wouldn't be able to answer as the requirements and the operations requirement, whatever comes up, and that is what DRDO takes up as such the programs.
There was this one incident that happened in 2021 of this BrahMos missile landing up in Pakistan. It was an accident. And after that, Pakistan has gone to town that we don't have systems in place. How did that accident happen? Are safeguards in place to see that these kind of accidents don't happen? And how do you explain to the world, or how is India to explain to the world that we do have a robust system in place?
I think the Air Force has looked into that matter and they have gone into details of the thing, what has happened and all that. And based on the analysis and the report what has come through, I think I'm not very deep into it, or I've not gone into the details of it, but Air Force has put in all the measures to see that such incidents won't occur again.
Right. We were talking about long-range missiles. What about the short-range ones? You know, the drone ones, the nano missiles. Are we developing that? And also, what is the threat from those as far as our enemies are concerned?
Firstly, there are lots of short-range missiles which have been developed in the country. Like if you look at anti-tank missiles, which are just very short-range missiles, just few kilometers. Similarly, if you look at surface-to-air missiles, you have varieties of missiles which range from short to medium range, sort of whether it is Akash or you talk about MR-SAM or something like that and all that. And there have been many drones technologies also which have been developed in the country. India is one of the first few countries in the world which has developed a anti-drone technology in the country, which has been put in use in multiple occasions and with multiple technologies which has got a hard kill and soft kill, all those options and all that. So a lot of work has been going on in this direction of the drone-based technologies and anti-drone technologies in the country, working to the current requirements which are happening in the world.
And sir, this anti-drone technology that you're talking about, this has been in use for giving protection to the Prime Minister's speech at the Independence Day as well as on the Republic Day for the parade. How effective has it been, sir? And has it secured any successes in field deployments?
No, it has been actually used only after successful trials, and trials have been done and it has been tested, used, and so the system is very successful, and that's how that technology has been transferred to the industries, and industries are producing those technologies now. As I said, we are one of the first few countries in the world who have developed such class of technologies of anti-drone system.
On the missiles things, so we've talked about these mobile launch pads, launch systems. What about submarine and ship-based platforms?
Number of systems are developed on various platforms. Like today, we have BrahMos on the ship. We have also medium-range surface-to-air missiles on the ships. and we are also developing short-range missiles on these. So a lot of marine applications related technologies and missile systems are also developed and being developed today.
And sir, in the earlier part of the conversation, you said now the development of the time span taken to develop a new missile has become shorter. Can you explain, like, earlier how long did it take to develop a missile, like say from Agni 2 to Agni 3, and now how much time, how much have you been able to, with this experience of developing missiles, how much time does it take for DRDO to develop a new missile from drawing board to field deployment?
See, firstly, when you look at 1980s, the ecosystem was not evolved. Whether it is the research in academia or the R&D of things, various technologies, subsystems, what you require, or various infrastructure in the country and industry coming up and all that. So it used to take a good amount of time. Any program used to take maybe anything 6, 7, 8 years out of a program what it has been taking up. And as the ecosystem has come up, see, if you look at in 1980s, we have maybe very few industries, maybe 10 or 15 industries which were working at 20 industries, and they were all built to print. And nobody was having any capability to develop anything on our specifications. And similarly, algorithms, studies, simulations doing in the academia and all also were just coping up and just trying to come up. And in the laboratories also, on the one side, developing the systems and then working on the subsystems and all that. So that has come up, and today you have the industries which are able to do build to specifications. You have all the technologies which you have developed it. The number of industries have gone, huge number of industries have come into picture today. Various academic institutes who are able to work almost on the same plane and same level at you to cope up and develop the technologies. So this has brought in a sea change. One example I can give, Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji has directed or guided DRDO to develop the anti-satellite mission, which actually has, it's a mission which needs to be done confidentially. He has said try to do it in as short as possible, shortest time. More like in about 2 years, the missile has been developed and then successfully it has been demonstrated, and that is the capability country has gained. And it is just a technical demonstration which actually Honorable Prime Minister wanted that to show to the world that India has the technological capabilities to take up such critical and large missions. ASAT mission. So, and that has been done in a very short time. So that is what actually the evolution of the ecosystem has helped the country to develop these things faster now.
And that the mission Shakti or the ASAT missile, sir, that is in the class of, say, a missile like Agni series.
I wouldn't be able to compare exactly like that, but it is a mission on its own.
It's the same level kind of a missile.
It's a mission on its hand. It's a different class of a missile which is required for this sort of operations of anti-satellite thing, which is just a technology demonstration. And I'm trying to say that that could be developed in a very short span of time.
And same way, the Pralay was also developed, sir?
Multiple missiles today, even quick reaction surface to air missile has been developed very fast. The Pralay has been developed very fast, and many other systems which are coming quicker than earlier, I would say definitely.
Now, sir,
evolving.
If we say the average is for developing a particular missile system, like say the QRSAM, earlier it would have taken us 6 to 7 years. Now, if we have to quantify it in...
Generally, I think we take now almost about 3 to 4 years is one thing what you can do.
So, reduction is around 50%?
Almost, yes.
Okay.
So, as a Modi missile man, this question obviously will come to you that, when the Balakot strike happened, at that time, there were many reports which said that that because of our missile system, that is why Pakistan thought and rethought about any kind of a strike on us. Would you agree to that?
See, I say definitely that India is now a technologically It has got all the technologies. It has got all class of missiles which has developed, which are available, which are required by Army, Air Force, and Navy. Whether it is talking about missiles like air-to-air missiles, we have Astra, which has a very good range and capability. We have then very good surface-to-air missiles, which have both short and medium range applications. And so you look at varieties of missiles, so that is cruise missiles, you have cruise missiles. So all these things make the country a good missile technological house having all these capabilities. So that works as a deterrent anytime.
So you think that these kind of flashes which happened, like the Balakot one, they got diffused more because we had capability and capacity?
I definitely say that if you look at the world, we are one of the first 5, 6 countries who possess all these technologies and capabilities today. We stand definitely as that. If you look at anti-satellite test, what we have done, we are the fourth nation after Russia, America, and China. We have done so. That's the capability what you have got. So that works definitely as a deterrent that the country has such capabilities.
And sir, when we talk about uh, these missiles that you are mentioning, now BrahMos is one of the most successful missiles that have come from the DRDO stable. Now we are also getting export orders for the missiles, sir. Now, before we got that export orders, we had a kind of a clash with the Chinese which is still going on, the military standoff, where India stood up to the Chinese bullying and took it on. Now you think, sir, that goodwill that India is a strong nation, can take on big bully countries like China, that helps you when people go out, when Indians go out and tell the countries that you should buy this missile or that the BrahMos or the other missiles.
See, the world is definitely watching, and world knows what we are doing, and it has been many of the things have been in the public domain, and so definitely world today recognizes India as having multiple technologies and multiple systems which India has developed today. And that's why we see that there are lots of inquiries coming from many countries across the globe for various systems. Not just missiles alone. There have been lots of requirements coming on radars and torpedoes and various other systems which are there in developed by the country. So world definitely is recognizing and recognized as a country which has developed indigenously many of these technologies and systems. And I'm sure that coming years it is going to be a sea change, particularly with the present government emphasizing on Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat has helped a lot in making many of these things in the country today, and making the technologies and filling in the technologies gap, and then also giving the message to the world that India has developed many of these capabilities, technologies, and they are available, which probably are lower in cost. And the call given by Honorable Prime Minister that make for the world is helping giving the boost to the industries that we should supply to the world globally, and people are marketing, and there have been lots of interest shown by the many countries today.
Sir, like we've talked about a lot of missiles that have come from which have been developed within the country. What are the developments like in field of other weapon systems like tanks and other armaments?
Radars,
Including the radars.
Let me tell you, a lot of activities have gone in the country. Lots of systems have been developed here in the country, particularly talking about the tanks. India is one of the 6 countries which have developed their own main battle tank, Arjun. So Mark 1 has gone into the armed forces. Mark 1A, again, Honorable Prime Minister has handed over the first tank to the armed forces in an event, and it is being now produced, and that also gets inducted into it. And now country is poised for developing many other tanks which are required by the armed forces. Second, you know that the 155 artillery gun has been developed in the country. And you must have heard Honorable Prime Minister talking about it on 15th of August from Red
The
Fort,
attacks.
when the ATAX was used in the firing on that 15th August ceremonial firing.
Yeah,
And he
the
said,
21 gun salute thing.
yes,
That one, yeah.
and he said 75 साल के बाद इधर हमने ये आवाज़ सुना है, हम देश में बनाया gun, artillery gun, a prestigious gun which has got a very long range. 155 artillery gun is another thing. We have developed many torpedoes for ourselves, and we have developed many sonars. And you said radars is another very big success story of the country. Country has become completely self-reliant from right from the modules which are required to making varieties of radars, whether it is ground-based radars or talking about ship-based radars or the airborne radars. Country has developed varieties of radars from short range, medium range, battlefield radars to very long range radars the country has developed. And the country has got the complete technologies. I can say country is completely self-reliant today in radars. So likewise, many technologies have been developed. Sonars, country has developed the sonars. Many communication systems which are required, country has developed. Many ammunitions which are required also, country has developed. So a lot of these technology and engineering things which are required for the armed forces, various bridges and other things which are required, are the recce and support vehicles and things like that, are wheeled armored platforms. These are all the various things which have been developed in the country.
So what about aircraft? Let's move to that because we are still importing most of the components that we need. When are we going to have our own aircraft? LCA, of course.
See, firstly, LCA is an indigenously developed aircraft. That's our aircraft. It is our own aircraft, indigenous. Maybe we have used some systems and components from outside. That's a separate issue. You own the design, you own the complete system as your own design and developed system and all that. Yes, the engine has been imported in that, and country has also worked on the engines, and the country has developed the Kaveri engines, but there has been a gap between the actual requirement and this. So, but the certain capabilities in the country has been developed in that, and country is working on trying to fill these gaps. But LCA is a very successful story, which has paved the way for development of further aircrafts which are required for the country now.
And the weapons and technology which go with those aircraft.
Absolutely. All the technologies today, whichever go into the fighter aircraft, many of those technology, whether it's talk about navigation system or control actuation systems, or talk about, as I said, the onboard radar or electronic systems what are required for the electronic warfare and all that, are also developed here in the country. All those, even in fact the other aircrafts which are bought from outside also, are all being equipped with our own systems today in the upgradation program. Completely indigenous systems are going into it now.
So, if you remember, in the height of Cold War, in America, there was this: everything has to be developed within the country. That, and the critical thing that it has to be done now. So, at that time, there was this SR-71, this spy plane which was developed, and it was like that is considered to be the best in the business. Even till today, it is considered the best spy plane. What about India?
See, India started developing indigenous systems, which actually mostly earlier the research was going on and all that. Developing systems or systems of systems, the phase started in 1980s. The development of everything here in the country and completely indigenous, the thrust has come from the present government very seriously, and trying to see that everything to be developed here in the country.
Like
So,
2 years ago, when Prime Minister decided that everything, all import deals to be stopped or put on hold.
yeah,
That
so
was a major
there have been major decision where that you try to make everything here in the country. You work out what are all being imported and try to see. We have worked out, we have prepared the list of items across the MOD, what are all being imported, and trying to get all of them developed through industry and R&D organizations here in the country. And one by one, various things and various schemes have been launched to support the industry to come out with these
So these
things.
impossible deadlines were set for all our labs, for all our system engineers, for
Absolutely.
everybody.
It is as a whole of Ministry of Defense, including the laboratories, industry, because it is not just laboratories alone which can develop it, and industry has a lot of capabilities. Industry also has come up in a big way. Lots of startups have also come up in the country. So you are identifying, you put it in the website, all those technologies, and look for who can develop what. Some can be developing the bigger industries or MSMEs or startups, some by the laboratories, and all are being developed, and there is a thrust given to see that you try to make everything here in the country.
In the aircraft technology too,
in
everything.
in every aspect, every aspect.
Like, sir, if you could tell our listeners and viewers that what are the aircraft that we are now developing, sir? Fighter aircraft.
See, as you know that, firstly, the LCA has been developed, Mark 1, and Mark 1A has come, which Air Force has given 83 numbers. There are lots of new technologies which have come into it. Then also, we are trying to develop the naval version of it. And you have seen that's why the LCA has landed on the earlier aircraft carrier, now on Vikrant also just landed. And that's an important feat what the country has achieved. One is that you have developed the technologies for aircraft landing on aircraft carrier and taking off. Those technologies have been established. Second, on a new commissioned aircraft carrier, which is INS Vikrant, which Honorable Prime Minister just a couple of months has commissioned that, which is again a very, very important step in the country's development of marine systems. Having your own such a huge ship developed, where aircrafts are able to land and take off with very high indigenous content is one of the important things. So those technologies have been developed. And there are efforts in the country to develop the further aircraft which are required for the Air Force. There have been a lot of design efforts and development efforts which are going on in the country, which actually, as time is evolving, the requirements of the Air Force, all those technologies, technologies are also being worked out.
You're talking about the MCA, sir.
Multiple, both fourth generation and fifth generation technologies. There have been a lot of efforts going on in the country.
So you talked about how you people put out your requirements for making everything in India on your websites, and the startups and the industry respond to it. How, like the Prime Minister talking about that there are 90,000 startups in the country which have come in the last 9 years. What is the scene of startups in defense industries, sir? And how do we now, like the Americans or the advanced Western countries, they have a military industrial complex that's huge. Like they have their Lockheeds, Boeings, BAs. Are we going towards a situation where we also have our big industries, big players in industry making big systems like aircraft and tanks and everything?
It's a very important question, and it's a ranging question. Firstly, you said about startups. Startups, actually, I say that it is now it's a movement which has come up in the country. It's a phenomenal growth, the way number of startups have come in the country. As you said, Prime Minister said the way in the last few years how the startups have come. If you look at maybe 8-9 years back, we had very minimal startups here in the country. Now the numbers have gone so high, and the numbers working in defense and aerospace also have gone into thousands today. Thousands of startups are working in defense and aerospace technologies. Youngsters, 23, 24, 25 years people, they're working. Sometime back you asked about drones. The complete drones related technology, there are more than 100, 150 startups which have come up.
In
there
defense.
was drones related technologies. In fact, there was an exhibition where Honorable Prime Minister also was there in the exhibition to see and people, and that uh, was exhibited by more than 120 drones there. Similarly, the youngsters are working on all these components, various spare parts, sub technologies, new technologies which are required, new propulsion systems, new materials, new engine related technologies. The startups are working in multiple directions, and that's one important change which has come here in the country, which I think country it will be taken up into a new dimension. There have been a number of schemes which have been launched also, particularly various ministries, and definitely Ministry of Defence also has put in to support these industries. Whether it's IDEX scheme, which is coming from the DDP to promote innovations, particularly in the startups and MSMEs. In DRDO, the technology development funding, where you're promoting R&D capability in MSMEs and startups to come out with many technologies and many subsystems and developing prototypes, they have come, which are giving the boost. And industries have come up in a big way. There are a large number of industries today. There are close to about 2,000 industries which are working as Tier 1 and Tier 2 industries. And then as the Tier 3 industries, there are lots of systems have come into it. And the private industries have been given a big boost, who entered into many systems development today. Lots of systems are coming up from private industries. Big industries which can develop bigger systems where you require large infrastructure also come into picture.
Can you give us a
Today,
few examples, sir? What
I'm
they have
coming to that. See, missiles were never developed by private industries earlier. Today, missiles and bombs are being developed by the private industry. There are a number of industries which are working on the missiles, radars. People are working on it.
Any examples in the missiles, sir?
Multiple missiles. There are actually multiple missiles which have come from them. Like example, if you look at a very prominent example like ATACS, is coming from a private industry today. Two industries are developing. WAP, wheeled armored platform, coming from another private industry. The light tank is coming from another private industry today. So if you look at it, there are so many things which are coming from private industry today. And DRDO has actually brought in a concept of program called DCPP, Development Cum Production Partner, where when DRDO takes up any project from the research or development onwards, the DCPP, that is Development Cum Production Partner, joins at the development. So the complete know-how and knowledge is transferred so that industry would be able to develop the further systems on its own. Many systems have been gone into the industry that way today. So the private industry, particularly evolving in the defense, is one again a sea change of what has happened in the last few years. These industries which are coming up, and that's how the infrastructure also in the country has been developed.
And sir, you said there hundreds of startups which are working in the field of drones. So can we say, sir, that now we see a lot of this swarm drone warfare going on in Azerbaijan, Armenia, or in different parts of the world? We can say for this drone warfare, the startup and the private industry can arm the Indian Defence Forces?
See, as I said, the complete drone technology today is almost everything is developed by the private industry. In for multiple applications, whether it is for surveillance or other
Pizza
applications.
delivery, that's what is grabs the
various,
attention.
multiple articles.
Yeah.
In fact,
Medicines.
there
Lots
are
of people are
medicines.
saying,
In
yeah.
fact, actually, there has been one requirement which has been projected that in the hilly regions, the transporting of vegetables
Vaccines
and other
and-
things and
yeah.
all also, which actually the farmers have to sell it. Then they have to carry it to the nearby town and the hilly region, going down, going up, and all those things.
Even
So
those
drones are also-
vaccines and ice packs,
Yes.
it takes a long time in these regions for people, for the Anganwadi worker to climb those hills, reach the place. Some primary healthcare centers don't have those facilities. So drone technology can, I believe, help in this, right?
helping, and many policies have been brought in, and the startups are working in this in the multiple domains. The drone has got lots of applications, and so they're all working in everything, in every possible area they're trying to work, and
including
they're
the
still coming
warfare
up.
domain.
Everything, including the defense domain.
And sir, you talked about that now we have a robust industrial base. Now we have a very vibrant startup system where startups are helped. They are producing for the defense forces. Now the Prime Minister has also, or the government has also been talking about make for the world. Now, is this the reason why we are seeing that the exports are going up and imports have come down in the country?
See, firstly, the imports are coming down with the direction from the government that we should try to make everything here in the country. There has been a drive towards this direction to make every subcomponent, system, subsystems, and all that are being developed through industry, through startups, through R&D organizations based on the type of the system it is being developed, and so the imports are coming down. And the capability in the country as such, as an ecosystem, to develop all these defense technologies has gone up in a big way, and the country is able to develop many systems on its own today, wherein earlier which you were trying to import these systems. They're all being developed today. See, like we have made our own artillery gun, which we are developing today. We have made our own torpedoes. We are making our own vehicles today. We have our aircraft. The government has cleared 83 numbers for induction of LCAs. So these are all large systems of indigenous systems which are going in into the systems.
And
The second, saving a lot of foreign exchange.
Yeah.
And same time, as your technologies have, the capability has gone up, and industries have come up where they are able to produce these systems and make as per the quality requirements and all that. So naturally, there is a market for it globally. And so lots of countries have shown interest and in the varieties of systems in this. And so the exports have picked up. And last 1 year, more than 13,000 crores worth of equipment has been exported. And looking at the inquiries and looking at the new systems what we are developing, and these numbers will be going up in a big way in the coming years.
I guess the Prime Minister has given a target of $5 billion by 2025.
Definitely the country is going in this direction and trying to...
You think we would be able to meet it, sir?
Definitely, I say that it is in this direction going on, and the way inquiries are coming, India is going to convert itself into a leading exporter in the coming years. That much I can definitely tell you.
And sir, you talked about having a robust development, like country having made achievements in radar technology and all. Now, coming to this, sir, now we have the ballistic missile defense shield system, the BMD system, the indigenous one. Now we have radars which can track missiles coming from, say, up to 5,000 kilometers. Now, this is a big achievement, sir. Can you tell us what is the status of the BMD program and how capable are we now? Do we... And recently we had the S-400 missiles which can, for the interim, which can track up to, say, 400 kilometers and take down targets. This BMD sounds to be having more capabilities than that, sir.
No, I would say that the country has developed the radars, varieties of radars, right from battlefield radars to long-range radars. As I said, the country has developed all the components which are required indigenously, which are very advanced components. So the complete capability in the country to develop radars with very long range also have come up. This definitely helps the country to track any object at far off distances, detect it and track it, and which helps in any defense system which is required by the country. So this capability now has been established here in the country, that you can develop any type of a radar system, which is including the advanced development system, advanced technologies, is a capability which naturally is for surveillance applications and detecting targets at far off distances and tracking that, which is useful for the defense of the country.
Okay, let's move on to what you said recently when you said that space traffic is going to become soon. It's going to be as bad as traffic in Bengaluru or Chennai or Delhi or something like that. What is the system? What is there an international protocol in place to manage the space traffic, or should there be one which is more robust?
This is what I was telling in the Bangalore conference on this, is that the activity in the space has gone up in a big way. Number of satellites being launched by each country is become numerous. And look at our own launches and where we have, of course, the global requirements of various countries also we are launching from our own launch vehicle. We are launched at one go more than 100 in one launch itself and things like that. So if you look at these whole requirements, the number of satellites and number of debris, which actually the components, parts and other things which also become part of it, is going to be enormous. So the traffic in the particularly low Earth orbit are going to become in a big way. And so that needs to be managed thoroughly, and it has to be, one is debris removal programs and launch related the traffic management. Internationally, the space community need to sit together and work out modalities and mechanisms for the future requirements where these both satellites and debris which are going to play a be in number in a big way and needs to be managed, and there should be an international consortium to see that these debris are removed also and manage these spent satellites also and how to bring down them and things like that without creating debris is one of the mechanisms international space community has to work on this traffic management. That is what I have said.
It shouldn't fall into human habitation areas and cause damage, or even in the oceans and cause marine life to
Most
be
of
hurt.
these components and
Disintegrate.
while they disintegrate and while entering into the atmosphere itself, there are very few things which happen.
So I remember
which
as a
come out.
child about hearing about, and there was paranoia over Skylab.
Skylab.
If I don't know whether
So,
you recall
couple-
that
I
time,
remember
it used to
that
be
it
so
was
big that
actually,
it's going to fall in India. And
yeah.
there was even
So-
one person who named his newborn that day as
Skylab.
Skylab Singh, if you remember.
There are very rare occasions which happen, but most of the things actually disintegrate while entering into the atmosphere. So these are all the things what I said that you should manage, and that should not cause problem either in the space or also when they actually any one object falling down also should not create any habitation related issues on the ground is one thing actually as a space community needs to manage. That's what I said earlier.
Sir, I wanted to ask you about this. The engines you were talking about the Kaveri engines, but now we are looking at I guess this came up for discussion during your US visit also with the NSA. Uh, uh, Engines for the G414 engines for the LCA Mark 1 and the AMCA Mark 1. Is it now we are talking about complete transfer of technology from that country? Now, you think after this, once the TOT comes in and we have manufactured it here in the country, we would be in a position to produce our own engines for fighter aircraft and we won't be needing anybody else's help?
Firstly, India has taken a program for indigenously developing the engines here. That's the Kaveri engine. And Kaveri engine is developed, and but it couldn't be used in the LCA as both the programs were evolving, and so there is a gap between the two requirements, and so country has developed definitely certain level of technologies which is required. And LCA we went ahead with the GE engine, and GE has been supplying these engines for these
404.
engines, and we are looking for the other engine which we had. As far as the US visit is concerned, the team went for the ISET program, to have cooperation in critical and emerging technologies. That has been launched, and there have been a delegation from India, the government side, and also industries. Similarly, there have been a delegation of team which has participated from the government and number of industries. There have been discussions how to go ahead, how to move forward, and things like that. This is a very welcome development which has come in for working on critical and emerging technologies between both the countries of USA and India.
So I'm going to move into the COVID war and the role played by scientists at that time. Just a short explainer. During the pandemic, you were part of the DRDO team, and that made 11 makeshift COVID hospitals, capacity of 10,000 beds in parts of the country. One hospital was built in a record 11 days. The DRDO helped construct 900 medical oxygen plants, 30,000 ventilators. So for those of you who think that DRDO is only about missiles, think again. There's a lot more. The possibilities of spin technologies being used for things like medical and pandemic fight. It was phenomenal what the DRDO achieved at that stage and what the scientific community did for the country. Could you tell us a little bit about what were the goals set for you and how you worked during that period?
As the pandemic erupted, the government has formed a number of groups of secretaries who should work on each and every domain connected to this COVID pandemic. And the DRDO was put into two such committees, and wherein each committee has its own task. So, which included the development of ventilators, development of PPEs, development of masks, and looking at to sanitizers and various other requirements and oxygen requirement and all that. So, DRDO, by virtue of working to the armed forces on various things, which also covers you also have protective masks, protective PPEs also is one of the tasks. So using that, the test facilities which are available and things like that. So DRDO has developed, tweaked its own technologies for developing the products which are required for the COVID. And so in that process, helped the country to come out with many masks, many PPAs, and ensuring the test facilities, coming out with various other technologies which are required in various places to fight the COVID, and particularly in the ventilators, which actually continuous reviews have been taken by the government, none other than Honorable Prime Minister, for the faster development of this ventilator, DRDO, then Health Ministry, and the private industry, Bharat Electronics Limited, and working together in a very short span of time, almost about 50 to 60,000 ventilators have been developed, driven by this committee. And similarly, DRDO has developed an onboard oxygen generation system, which actually for the Tejas aircraft, which has been used for a ground-based a large oxygen generation system like 1,000 liters per minute and 500 liters per minute. This was again required in the second wave, particularly for various hospitals across the country. It's been funded by the government. Honorable Prime Minister himself has given the funding from the PM CARES and taken reviews very regularly to develop these plants. So there are 22 industries who have been given this technology very fast and established these oxygen plants across the country. Whole of government, along with the state governments, have worked on this to see that all the infrastructure is developed across all these districts across the country, and then these oxygen plants are made by the various industries, transported, installed, commissioned, and the monitoring system also has been established. So lots of efforts have gone in this, and as a whole of government approach, and DRDO has played an important role as per the directions of the government requirements and things like that. Such one of those things is building as hospitals were required for
Makeshift
the COVID, very
especially,
which also have been built in along with all the necessary facilities, incorporating these ventilators, then oxygen and oxygen supply system and all that. They have also been established, as you rightly said, at various places. So it's a pandemic scenario, and everyone in the country is looking only towards fighting that pandemic scenario, as you have scientific ability, and particularly you worked in similar areas, and including a 2DG medicine which has been developed by DRDO for other applications which also can be used here. Likewise, many things. So for the a situation which has erupted like this, so on the directions of the government, DRDO has come out and worked on these things.
For our armed forces who are living in very trying areas, conditions, developing food products for them.
The lab in Leh,
No,
sir.
DRDO works for
Even
the
food
soldier.
products, that's what I
for
was
the
trying-
soldier.
Soldiers, yeah.
Soldier is an important element in any warfare. So as is in the frontier areas, whether it is the mountainous region or low temperature region and many other things, so he needs to have life support systems for the soldier. So you need to develop those technologies for him. Let's say cold weather clothing, which is required for the weather there, or the place where he lives, and various necessities what he has got. Similarly, having food which he can carry in a low volume but gives you very high energy and things like that is one thing. These are all like pilot suits, submarines, whatever they require suits, and so varieties of these requirements which are required for the soldier needs to be developed. That DRDO works on those technologies for the soldier and try to support the soldier with better equipped systems which makes his life simpler and very effective in those frontier areas.
Dr. Reddy, I began by saying about how children in many of us who would, when we were children, we want to become a scientist, want to become a marine biologist and things like that. But then you take up a job like I became a journalist. Similarly, somebody joins a bank, and then slowly you stop thinking and about those dreams. You start filtering out all that information which you were reading as a child. You start filtering all that out because it's a dream that didn't get fulfilled. Whereas you stayed on to become a scientist. Now tell us, at any point of time, did you feel, I don't want to do this, I want to do something else? How do you stay on course to be, wanting to be a scientist and staying on the course?
Firstly, as I was finishing engineering, many of our classmates and others were going abroad. We had a very clear determination that we should stay back here in the country. In fact, my mother and family were also supporting. The way I have also built up, coming up, that we should stay back here in the country. And also wanted to be here in the research organization. So I've actually tried to join DRDO, ISRO and Atomic Energy. And DRDO's job has come as a first to me, and so joined. The moment you are joined in DRDO, it is joined in that wave flow of development of missiles working under Dr. Kalam in 1980s, which you are trying to develop the first missiles of the country. And it is an atmosphere, an environment where there is always enthusiastic environment, and people are trying to work with tremendous dedication. You have entered into that flow of that particular activity, and there was never an opportunity or never a need to look back. That enthusiasm continued, the various leaderships, the various aspects, various programs which are coming, and have encouraged us to develop further and further and keeping up the enthusiasm. Like if you look at the type of enthusiasm what we had in development of the ASAT program, which actually a direction coming directly from Honorable Prime Minister, and doing that, you are trying to make the world know that country has such great technologies. People have worked 2 years day and night and developed those programs. So there have been enthusiasm, programs after programs, technologies of technologies. Now it is indigenous systems, indigenous technologies. You should make systems, make for the world, and try to make first of its kind systems. So this sort of a evolving enthusiasm persisted in the whole scientific community in the country, trying to develop the systems so fast and trying to make this country is not dependent on anything from outside, and country has to develop ourselves, and country has to become a leader in these technologies and try to export is one evolving enthusiasm which has been coming up. And I see that there are sea change in the youngsters mind today. And if you look at the number of startups which have come up in the country, which nobody thought, and India is one of the very few countries, maybe first 4 or 5 countries, we are having such a fantastic ecosystem of the startups. And if you look at the people who are coming from our ITs, earlier about 10 years back, majority of them were going abroad. Now majority of those IT students are staying back here in the country, and they're all working towards innovations and development and trying to come out with new technologies, new products. This is one thing which is inspiring. And I feel that the youngsters, the way the number of startups have come, the way they are joining these organizations within the country or industry, and the number of research associates, the number of PhDs which are coming in the country, is a changing environment where youngsters are getting more and more towards technologies, more and more coming out with innovations. I think we all should be very proud the way the country has changed now. The mindset of the youngsters is getting more and more driven towards these technologies and indigenous technologies. I am sure this wave, what is now erupted, will make a sea change and make the India as one of the
I think,
leaders
sir,
in the world.
when you were recently in Dallas, you had this experience that people want to come back.
A lot of people are trying to come back, and you look at our IITs now, most of those professors are young professors who are postdocs who have come back from the world and from various academic institutes and things like that, and they're all trying to see that what we can do in India, how we can do, and are looking for opportunities and all that. And we have, as such, we have lots of youngsters in this country. That's the strength of this country. And if you look at engineers alone, we are producing about 1.3 millions a year. And so, a lot of opportunities. And India's skilled manpower will be a dominant manpower in the whole world's skilled manpower. This is one thing which is happening. So this is the one, the youngsters, the education system, the new education policy, and the opportunities, number of IITs which have come, and the number of institutions which have come, the number of incubation centers which have come to support these things, and various corridors which have been created, the infrastructure, the test facilities which are there coming up to support, the various mechanisms which have come to support these youngsters to come out with innovations and R&D, financial support. This is changing the system very fast to evolve as a brighter and much technological advanced nation.
So, any message that you would have to young parents who are wondering what kind of advice to give their children in whether they should get into pure sciences or not? Because is there scope? Like you saying, there's a lot of scope today. But what about those parents whose children are just about 6 to 8 years or 10 years who have to make that choice right now to get into pure sciences or not? And students who are taking STEM courses, what about them? Should they think about India's R&D and science and technology streams as something which is robust and fulfilling as far as career opportunities are concerned?
Firstly, how much an engineering is important. Basic sciences, social sciences are also equally important. Unless the fundamental sciences subjects you are strong, technologies cannot be developed. So there needs to be a lot of importance given to the sciences. In fact, that's why the ISERs have been established, Institute of Science Education Research, more into the sciences and related research, which a thrust has been given. So, based on the aptitude of the child, whether he either sciences or social sciences or engineering related or medical related research, we need to encourage. Looking at it's only that we have to see that there is a focus, there is a target, and then the youngster is motivated towards the target with sincerity and hard work. This is what the parent has to ensure, but not imposing on him too much and what you want to do and all that. So as you say that today, lots of opportunities in each and every area are available. Basic sciences, a lot of opportunities. Whether you get into research, whether you get into teaching, or you are joining universities or joining other research organizations is one possibility. Or you are joining into the other technologies related area, a lot of opportunity. But whichever the youngster has, and that we should look at into that particular aptitude, encourage him, make him focus in that direction. Of course, not definitely looking 24 hours only studies and things like that. You also should be encouraged into other activities. You should be able to play, you should be able to participate in sports or other arts related activities. Children also need to have all these activities with a primary focus. And today our education system also, the way it's evolving, our educational institutions rankings globally are improving day by day. So our education institution standards are also going up in a big way. This also helps the youngsters to come up with very high standards in their education and get motivated. And then later opportunities, whether to get into the research or get into technologies or getting into startups or innovations, is one more thing which has come up in a big way today. And you also can see a change that there have been focus was more onto the IT earlier, whoever coming from the particular engineering institutions earlier.
True.
Now that has changed now.
Yes.
They're all working in, youngsters are working on material science today.
Okay.
Materials. This is one sea change which has happened, which is a very good thing which is evolving. And this actually makes for an all-round development in the country. And that is what we are seeing, and that is what I like to say, that focus yourself, lay the targets, work towards the target, and when you are laying, as you are growing, lay your vision at a very high level. And that is what Dr. Kalam used to say also, that think big and work towards it, and then only you can achieve great things. So this is what our youngsters should be thinking, and that's what the parents should be directing them.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your time and wishing you all the best in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching or listening in to this podcast. Please like or subscribe on whichever channel you have heard this or seen this. Namaste. Jai Hind.